We're still paying for Texas's problem.
Yeah,
No.
that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
What are we gonna fix this
Garbage.
year?
Professional computer.
Maintenance and
Well-
repair? Obviously, we've overspent the last couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, we have.
We're gonna do this room sometime, aren't we?
Yeah, we've approved it. I don't know when they're gonna do it.
It's not overspent because actually the money's
No.
supposed to be coming out of 6605, but they don't call it
Right.
building improvement. That's
That-
just how
that-
it gets
that's
coded.
what-
So
Yeah,
we put in 200,000 in 22,
Right.
and we put in 209,000 in 28. So actually, we're budget-wise okay. It's just what the account came out of.
it's-
Sure.
Yeah, it's just,
Because if we're just fixing things, they call that a maintenance and repair.
Right.
The way
Yeah.
they have. But
it's,
if we're
yeah,
gonna,
it's coming out.
I don't know. I think if we're putting on like the covers over the walls, I don't consider that maintenance. I consider
Right.
that an improvement and try
Right.
to do it to that. So I'd rather have them do that. But if we're like fixing stuff,
But
whatever.
getting back to what Dallas asked about, when are they gonna do whatever in this room?
The audio video,
Yeah,
as soon as the stuff comes in,
Yeah.
oh,
and we're waiting, and it's the same thing for like computers and stuff. We're waiting.
So that doesn't necessarily gonna be into this, or could be
Oh,
next
it's
year?
so that's coming out of ARP money, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's not in the budget for this. You're not gonna see that there.
okay.
So maintenance repair, this should be fixing things, like if you haven't put in new toilets and sinks, then that's maintenance, but
Yes,
if we're,
yeah,
Okay, then,
it's kind of works both between
Yeah.
the two, so if
we
you,
almost combined them,
so basically if you look at maintenance repair and what Wayne put in for,
you know,
building improvements of 200, I figure we got 230,000 to work with for projects,
and do you
and
have
then,
projects thought of, or,
well, it's supposed to be getting bids for carpet. Tony Rusted's supposed to be coming in and I keep reminding him and giving bids for carpet and everything. He's gonna bid it so then everybody else bids the same thing. So they're exact, maybe not the same brand, but the same material. That's the biggest, I think, expense we're gonna be doing is carpet. Then we're gonna have to start looking at windows again, over there.
well, they're 20, whatever, 20,
what
Put
do we
in
have to do with them,
96.
replace them, or?
Well, it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
Do they have to be a certain kind because of the historic nature?
I'm at,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Yep,
yeah, they'll have to
Yeah,
be approved by
they
the
gotta- they
state,
gotta look.
just like we had with the shingles,
Right,
you know.
yep.
costs us 30% more.
Oh, yeah, everything,
but hopefully it's something that's more energy efficient, or,
yeah.
I hope so.
yeah.
Well, back in the day, they were okay.
Well, yeah, it didn't matter when fuel was cheap.
Yeah, unfortunately, you have a stone building, it's hard to have energy efficiency anyway.
Right.
But we do you got good insulation in the attic anyway, so.
Yeah, we do.
So, your project list is windows,
Carpet for now,
carpet.
I'm hoping,
How far away are we from a tuck pointing project here?
next couple of years.
No, you can't get much longer than that.
No,
It's
has to be
getting pretty
within-
bad up
it has
here.
to be. Up here, yeah,
Yeah.
but we probably could have them do it here. And not do the whole building. Cause, you know, I don't see much around the rest of the building,
No, you don't. It's your southern exposure.
it's the worst, this side here is.
Yep.
The side they're gonna have to do.
You ever thinking of doing anything different with this little entry up here?
We've been working on that, but that company just don't wanna come back. Cause we were working with Brian on it, and he was getting somebody to come and do that, and then do the rest of the cap up there too, and between the two buildings, that.
Well, if you want my opinion, this whole entryway needs a full redo.
Yes,
And the windows up there, they'll slant, needs to go away. It
Right.
leaks like a sieve.
and you got ice
When it
falls,
rained.
ice, it takes
Yeah.
a chance of falling down.
We're
and
lucky
go
we
right
haven't
through.
had it go right
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, it could,
It just needs to be a whole new
yep,
Structure.
design facade on the front of it.
unless we put that down for next year.
Maybe we could get matching like the shingles.
I'll ask.
Well, the natural light is nice. I mean, it just needs to be, something needs to be done differently on it, just to.
Yeah, the natural light is nice, but still, if you just use the east side of it with glass, you'll still have a lot of light.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not practical to have ice and whatnot falling on it, a glass, anything.
But since we put in the new parking lot, we haven't had a problem with the ice.
Not on the
'Cause
sidewalk,
It drains into that
yeah.
new system and don't freeze up. Otherwise it froze up when it went off the street. I don't know for sure where it went, but.
Well, the ice issue we had was what was hanging and large
Yeah.
icicles coming off
Yep.
the courthouse roof,
Right.
yeah.
And that, you're not gonna prevent.
Then we had to put plywood on it.
Yeah, no, yeah, we had a melt and then a freeze, and then it's like, and it melted, and we had
If you had a big enough chunk
10-foot
fall, take
icicles
the
that
plywood
just
right through
come
that
crashing
glass.
through those windows.
Good.
Actually, I'm kinda sorry it didn't.
Yeah.
We got insurance, so let's do the job now.
The other
Nobody got
thing,
hurt.
as far as maintenance and repairs, where are we at with anything with the courtroom ceiling?
Can't get anything. Even,
No one will even give a bid.
Blau. Blau was the only one that, then she got hurt in an accident and they haven't come back. Cause they said they'd give me a bid on it.
No, reach out to him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep,
We've been looking at that for years.
Yeah.
Should have painted to start with.
Well, that's what I think. I still think it'd be better if you just could get that paint off and leave it off.
It
Strip
looks
it.
so nice underneath.
It does. But you still gotta be able to get up there to do it.
The company out of the cities would do it, but
Yeah, if you wanna pay the price.
well, if we can't get anybody else to do it, what do you do? I mean, it's not an easy project.
no.
And we had the perfect opportunity when the courts were shut down.
Yes.
But nobody was working. Probably still nobody's working, but, I mean, the benches would have to be moved, you'd have to have huge lifts to get up there to do it, or scaffold the whole thing,
And it's
and it's a
slanted.
huge mess.
If
If
it's
you're
a
gonna
lift,
take
it's gotta
it
be
all
able
off,
go
you
in the
almost have to
elevator,
sandblast
get
it off
there.
somehow. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
move all court to Laverne for 6 months.
Video court.
Well, they do that, a lot of that anyway. So basically for projects, we had about 230,000 to do, it looks like.
Yep.
Professional services would be like if you need an architect to do whatever.
It's like, cleaning carpet or
Oh, that kind of
some of that
stuff.
stuff too, yes. Yep.
Okay.
And architects, like you said.
For architects and stuff too, yeah. Yep.
Supplies. Last year you were
That's been killing us, but
way over. This year we're already at budget, 7 months in.
if we could get rid of the COVID, it would help us a lot.
Which supplies are you looking at?
Down towards the bottom.
Office
64.
supplies?
General
6410 on 42.
general supplies. That's all your cleaning stuff.
Right.
You can see what the COVID did was,
Bumped the price up that much.
we brought a lot more in too.
Oh, yeah,
Regularly, I'm sure.
right.
No.
Well, and also the cost has gone up in everything we're using too.
Right.
You know, that's the
Yeah,
biggest
paper
thing
towel.
we're needing, we're using probably the same
Paper
stuff.
towel, toilet paper, all that
everything.
stuff's all in there.
Right.
We furnish now, we start furnishing for, highway too.
I mean, it doesn't look to me like it's enough for, based on what you're spending.
You know, it should probably be
I'm
twice
I'm
that.
hoping it goes down some for cleaning.
Or 40.
Toilet paper and stuff aren't going to.
We're already at 25 for the year, so the
Right. I'm just looking at 21 actuals, 40.
prices weren't as bad then, so it's like,
So it might be 50 now.
that's what I'm thinking. I think we should put 50 in there. Then take a look and just make sure you're shopping for the best price on stuff too, and,
Yeah.
you know, watching where the dollars go. The equipment purchases you're planning on, I say we did something this year with no budget for it, for 6481.
Equipment.
Bought something for 25, 24.
I don't know what that'd be.
Probably wouldn't even cover an attachment for anything.
No. So I don't know. I don't think I bought anything. So I don't know what.
Somebody did.
But I mean, for as far as equipment though. So I'm not sure what they're calling equipment.
We haven't bought any gas or diesel this year, huh?
Where's that? Oh,
65, 67.
yeah, we have been.
Oh, let's see here, I'll tell you what it is here.
What they put down for the fairgrounds. Yeah, we've been buying gas and diesel.
Someplace, it's
I get
not
billed-
getting into the,
I get billed for it.
unless it's going to the fairgrounds.
No, it's not. It's not on there. Mm.
Must be a coding problem then.
Yeah, there has to be.
I'll have to look, see where that's going then.
Oh, we bought the evacuation chair for the stairs for 1904,
It's easy spending.
and
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's what it
M&H
is.
hardware for the new for refrigerator.
Oh, yep, that's what it is.
That's where it went.
That's the evacuation chair.
That's one sitting right upstairs here if we have
If
to
the elevator
evacuate.
goes down and you gotta bring somebody down in a wheelchair.
Oh,
It's a wheelchair type device,
Okay, yeah, that's what it is.
yep.
safety equipment, so that's what that was
That
for.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then which one were you looking for? Gas?
Diesel, gas,
65, 67.
next one down.
On 111?
Yeah,
Yeah. 65, 67.
it doesn't show any actual.
So I put at 1,000, I left at 1,000. But we spent 2,000 in 2021.
I don't even have one that we spent. 65, 67.
That's all of our vehicles and skid steer and lawnmower gas.
Okay, if you drop down to 6382,
Everything for 65,
paid
67.
$1,153 to the highway for gas and fuel.
Yep.
Oh, there it is.
Found it.
So there's two, that's where it goes, yes. So we could eliminate that one then. Yep, that's the one I,
On page 41. Back up this way.
yep. We probably could eliminate that one.
Did you get all
I
your
wonder if
gas
they're
from the
coding
highway
it in.
department?
67,
Yeah,
because we don't buy gas in the other place.
right.
6382. Yeah, that's here. Pickup mowers, gas
Yep.
cans.
Yep. And let's see,
Mowers.
and we're at 773 and I put 1,500
So
on
we
it,
could
so
just zero this one out.
I think we could.
What about the one below it? Right. Tools and shop materials.
That's 500.
You haven't spent a thing
Buy some stuff, I don't know where it must be going in there.
into equipment under 300 instead.
Yeah, yeah, it might be going there. Yep.
So get rid of that one,
But then reassign it to
yeah, to where it's being
equipment
spent
under
out of.
300.
So that should be the courthouse then, right?
Should.
Oh yeah, and these fairgrounds ones get the minus.
Okay, at the top, your 6,000 and your 2,000
Yep.
for income should have minus signs in front of it, so that'll decrease your net by 8,000.
Utilities probably should go up,
Yeah.
not enough to cover.
Another one too, I don't, on the courthouse one, snow removal by highway department. Since I've had that snow blower, I blow it up in the air and get rid of it, and they haven't had to haul any, so I don't know if we cut that back too or not.
That's enough.
I don't know.
384.
Depends upon, if we get a lot of snow, that's not gonna work either,
When they push it at the end, I come in early and I just blow it up in the air and
What's
let it go.
going on?
if it's windy.
Yeah, let's go 12.
Yeah, that's only 1,000, so.
And heat,
We'll go 12,000 for electricity and heat.
5.
So the only time we're heating this is over the winter.
Blue billing,
Do-
that should be alright. I turn it
That's
on,
only like,
I keep it on 4550 in there.
okay.
Okay.
So 35's all right, okay,
I think that should be.
all right.
Any projects projected at the fairgrounds this coming?
We gotta do something with the bathrooms.
We've talked about that a year
Yep.
ago.
Like replacing?
Total
The
remodel.
handicap-
Total remodel.
The handicap door fell off yesterday.
At least it fell off yesterday.
They're in dairy show though.
Any ballpark on what it'd take to refurbish that?
Probably 50, 60,000.
That-
At least.
I think that's what we had in there. If we do
You
have
got
some
building
money for it.
improvements for 55. Did you spend anything this year on building improvement? It doesn't look like,
No, didn't.
last
no
2 years.
project was
Oh,
made. We only had 5,000.
I replaced some lights again out there this year. I think we did 11 lights. I haven't got the bill for that yet.
Oh, okay.
So everything west of the grandstand, including the grandstand, is done, LEDs. The inside's not done, and I don't know, the horse arena, we're having a problem with the light over there. If we do lights, I might do that one next year, that'd be 8 of them.
But that gets used a lot too.
Yeah, that probably, like I said, that should be the next one done. He was gonna try to get 2 for this year's fair, because we had a problem with one of the poles. He must not have got them in time,
Well, if it's like everything else.
it's hard to get stuff.
So between this year and next year's budgeted amounts, we definitely would have enough to fully redo the bathrooms and do these lights and have money left.
Yeah, I should have.
Yes. Yep. Yep. They wanna do the fair office sometime too, but, so I can do the labor on that. But I
Well,
told
let them
Skip he's
take
got-
that out of fair board money.
He's gotta clean his back room out first, if I told him he doesn't. Have you been back there?
Get a bigger air conditioner.
That old one's still going.
It wasn't going very good the other day.
I think
That's the original one.
Yeah.
we need new windows around the blue building
Yes.
too. Those, you
Yeah.
need to get
Right.
that on your list for either this year or whatever, get something done on those too. Those are rotted out.
They're getting, they needs to be that poly, white poly,
Vinyl one.
the vinyl, yeah. Yep.
Are the roofs good on all the buildings?
We do get a little bit leaking in the blue building, but it's around the furnace, the one. I don't know if you were in there where the senior citizens booth was. They had a couple of drips there.
Corner.
Can we get somebody up on the roof and check it out?
No.
See if maybe it's just a caulking thing.
Yeah,
Resealed the
Windstorms
vent.
loosened up the flue pipe or something, I don't know.
Well, they probably did,
The way
didn't
the
get
wind
sealed
blows.
back the best when they re-roofed it here a few years ago.
Skylights have been blown out of the horse barn, but I end up replacing about one of them a year. $104 for 10-footer
Budget some more money.
for a skylight.
So how much do you think the lights are gonna be for the horse arena? No
I haven't
idea.
gotten this year, so. I'm not sure, there's, like I said, there's 8 of them.
Oh, it does cut down on the electricity if you go LEDs, right? Is that what you're planning?
Well, that's just
LEDs.
it, and the horse arena gets used more than inside the grandstand.
We know the bathrooms all need work. I mean, the stalls are shot,
Yeah.
the toilets are 30, 40, 50 years old.
Yeah, they need to
The
be
urinals
replaced.
need to be,
Everything needs
we
to
need
be
to put in,
replaced.
get rid of the trough and put in urinals and stuff like that or whatever. Make sure it's totally handicapped accessible. No touch faucets, that type of thing, so you know,
No.
do it, you can do it right, that way you can get somebody in a wheelchair up to it and get them in there and. So, last 2 years got 110, that should be enough money, I would think.
Yeah.
We didn't use
Yeah.
it, went back to
Yeah.
reserve, plus we got a little bit extra income, so we'll fix that.
Yep.
So we got increased to 12,000 on electricity, changed the 6 and the 2 to income instead of an expense. And that's all I see on that one.
Yep.
That sound right?
Should be.
And projects, bathroom remodel, horse arena lights, office windows in the blue building, and fix the furnace flue.
Yep.
Anything else? Thank you, Wayne.
Come and
Good
help take
start.
down the tent.
Thanks.
What's that?
Come and help take down the tent.
The wind tried blowing it down the other night, but it didn't get it done. Snapped 2 boards.
Really?
It snapped that
It's corner.
southwest corner.
Yeah.
Well, that thing was
about 4 in.
tight as a fiddle string anyhow.
A little
But the,
natural curve to it by the time we were done.
the city one went down. They had to come put that back up next day. Took part of it down.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
Yep.
Jeff, you're up next.
Hey Jeff, how you doing? Good.
Learned about fairgrounds infrastructure today. There the guy thinks.
And what number is Jeff?
Age 68.
What number did you say?
68.
68, okay. My hearing is going.
Fire away, Jeff.
Essentially, going through it, the only real changes are gonna be, since Judy retired, so Kimber's position, it's gonna be a little bit less, 'cause she's not, Judy was at the top of the glass ceiling, so that's about the only, real change. The only other thing is, I'm also at the top of the glass ceiling, so, that won't change, it hasn't changed for the last year or so, so the big thing is, Kimber's is gonna be a little bit less. The other thing to point out is, it's the fiscal year and the calendar year, the state and the county stuff is always on too, so it looks a little weird sometimes, with the reimbursements that the state pays back to the county. Other than that, it's pretty status quo. I do project there is a program, and I'm taking that out of supervision fees, we just put that on there, just so you'd be aware of it. It's, for the Pipestone area schools, it's a, Choose Well program. It's kind of a cognitive program that, in partnership with, I'm paying like $22,000, and then some other, that coalition's paying the other portion of it. So it looks like a bill, but it's not really, because it's coming out of that supervision fee money, pile of money that's for that type of endeavor.
This is a 5501.
Yes, correct.
Yep, okay.
If there's any questions or.
No, it's pretty straightforward.
You always get off the hook so easy.
Well, it took me, when I first started, it was quite a mess, the budget. And I think all people had just been adding to it. They never sat down and figured, so I was like, all right, you have to do the budget, Jeff. So, okay. So I thought, well, how do I figure it? I don't know I said, who's paying what and what? So you have three entities. You have Pipestone County, Murray County, and the state. And they're all paying into that. And I couldn't get an answer. I had to drive up to the marshal, the felony head office, and finally got it whittled down. And I was like, well, there's a lot of fat here. So I was like, this can be cut, and then it's pretty much not much is gonna go like this, we're pretty.
It's a stable budget.
Essentially, yeah, this is how much it costs, and the numbers kind of stay that way, and the way we've done things with like some drug testing and things like that have changed a little bit, so that's not as, we used to always have to send everything off and get it verified, but now, hey, you get a dirty UA, we'll work on it, sign the admission form, and then we don't have to send it off, so you're spending $2 for a test versus send it off to the lab for $20 for that screening. And then we screen, nowadays compared to when I started, we screen just for what they test positive. We used to send it off, and you used to have a full screen, so you're testing for, if it's an 8-panel test, you were doing 8 individual panel or testing, so that was a little bit expensive. So we've kind of, with technology and some of the legal stuff, we were able to, that used to be kind of the highest deal. That and interpretive services used to be really expensive. Now with the computer, I've got it on my state cell phone. I hit the language line, and I'm talking to an interpreter, and we just set the phone on the table, talk back and forth to Karen. I can get basically any language right then and there, and it works. Fairly well.
I had a guy in the store recently that he asked if I spoke Spanish. I said no. He had some deal on his phone, so he could talk into it in Spanish, and it would repeat it in English, And when I spoke into his phone in English, it would repeat
Yeah.
it to him in Spanish.
There's a few.
And you
apps.
didn't even need an interpreter, it did it for you.
Yep.
I don't know what that costs, but it's pretty cool.
It's I think mine it's you do a first initial sign up, and ours can be used. The other than that app, ours is legally certified, so it's a legal interpreter because we do with some court stuff and signing documents. But yeah, I've had people that come to the office and they've got that on there already, so that is very helpful.
But it did seem pretty accurate for,
You can get through little short things with that, you know,
Right.
like little things. So, but sometimes if you get into like some legal jargon, it changes it. That's why we're having a
sure.
actual interpreter, sort of legal certified interpreter is the only difference. But yeah, that is.
But the way things are going, who knows, maybe they'll develop it and
Yeah,
find
I'm
enough
sure.
that in time that'll be the way to go and it will be good enough.
Yep. I'm sure. Like even in courts now, a lot of it is they don't always have the interpreters there, especially for a Karen language. You have to bring somebody out of the metro. You're paying them for
6
half.
hours on the road?
Yeah, you know, at minimum, and when we used to get him out of Lyon County, we would get Joe Jensen because he was the only court certified one around here for Spanish. It was, if I needed him for 5 minutes or an hour, it was the same. It was $100 and some change, you know, and then plus his travel time. So it was, that was costly back then. It's changed, you know, that's kind of some of the interesting things that have evolved over the last 20 some years. I was sitting here, I was thinking, God, when I first started, you know, as the commissioners were blah, blah, blah. And it's like Marv, there's Jamie Doubleday was a commissioner at that time.
Yeah.
So it was,
Uncle Marv.
yes.
That was my uncle.
Oh, really?
Pictures up
That
here.
was good. He was a good guy, like Marv. Yeah.
Just view the wall of fame up here.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. There they all left. I was doing pretty good, and I was like, who was that one? I was Doubleday. I couldn't. He was
Yeah.
Jack.
Jack Gears. Yep. And then
Larry
who was the guy
Raymond.
out of Jasper? He ran the C store in Jasper.
Oh, Larry
Larry.
Carstensen.
Larry Carsonson.
And
Yep.
Butch Miller, you probably remember Butch.
Bush. Yep, Bush was after. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a few.
Were you here when Jim Keys was here?
Yep.
Bud Vistu or not?
What was that?
Bud Vistu or he probably predates you?
I think he was before me. I think he was before me. I think that first group.
What year did you start? Here.
2002.
Okay.
Yeah, that would've been Marv,
Jack.
Gordon Baden, maybe?
Yeah, Irv and
Irv. Yeah.
Irv, Marv, Larry.
Yeah, Irv. I forgot about Irv.
Bob Wheats. Yep.
yeah.
Forgot about Irv.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Yeah, and if you guys got any other questions or anything, please let me know, and we'll gladly try to answer them for you.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate your guys' help.
Do probation report or get on the agenda and bring them up to date. What's going on? Just let me know.
Anytime
We'll
you
get
want.
you on for
Anytime.
sure.
Yep. We don't have.
Not that total much going on anymore. So
Yeah, it's a little kind of running right now. We're getting bombarded. There was a lull, and now it's starting to ramp up again.
good old peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Generally runs with the judges vacation. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
We're back in session. Steve, are you the spokesman?
I guess I am.
Have a hot seat.
I got the hot seat. That's it. Thank you guys for letting us come and visit with you here a little bit. Two different things that we want to ask for today. One of them is if there would be any way that we could possibly be included with the budget for some capital money for our building. And I'll tell you what Laverne has given, the county down there has given $150,000 and the city has given $150,000. And they've done it, one of them did it over 3 years, one of them did it over 5 years. And that's what, when we went to the city was agreeable, you know, that they could do something. They didn't, you know, mention an amount or anything, but they were agreeable that it would be easier for them if they could do it over a period of years rather than in one lump sum. And so that's, we'd like to make a proposal like that, and, if we could possibly be included in the budget with that. And the second proposal is we really need more operating funds, if it's possible to put something like that in the budget too. We're doing pretty good, but everything, of course, as you know, we have to do fundraisers. And in the past, the city provided the building and all the expenses, and the county provided the employee. And since those days are no longer, it is tough to try to operate, on just fundraising money. The group is older, and we've got a lot of people that can't participate in the fundraisers, and those of us that can, you almost have to hide when you go in someplace, because we've asked, for so many times and so many funds. And so, it used to be that each of the centers got money, and now we're just down to just Edgerton, I believe, is the only center. And are they open anymore or not?
Not regular hours, once a week, I think, maybe.
Yeah. And so we're really the only operating center, that's trying to have regular hours and make a welcoming place for everybody to be able to come into. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we'd like to talk to you about. And, any questions that you guys have, we're certainly open to answer any of them.
I do have a question. I know that you've mentioned the total cost of the building's around $650.
Correct.
Okay. Of that, can you possibly provide a breakdown of how much would be attributed to the senior center versus how much would it be attributed to the food shelf and then the meal program?
Roger?
Basically, the way the building's lit, it's about 50-50. If you take the square footage, it's 50% for the senior center, actually a little bit more, about 200 to 300 square feet more than the food shelf, but it started out equal. And then we had some adjustments on the land, so we made some changes to the configuration. But for all intents and purposes, it's half food shelf, half senior center, and then the Lutheran Social Services, the Meals on Wheels, is using our kitchen. But they're supplying the dishwashers, the refrigerators.
And the kitchen's in the senior portion?
It's right down the middle. All the offices and restrooms are down the middle. Senior center on this side, food shelf on the other. So it's right down the center.
And how about the equipment for the food shelf? I mean, there must be like fridges and freezers and that kind of
We've got
thing.
all that, no.
Oh, you do?
We just bring what we have.
I see.
In fact, I have 2 stainless steel freezers and storage.
Okay.
And over in the old senior center, the Carnegie over here, the Lutheran Social Service has, it's either 2 freezers and 1 fridge or 2 fridges and 1 freezer. I'm not sure, but they're the big silver commercial-like things.
Yeah.
And they're just about brand new. They were donated, and then they've got their dishwasher isn't that terribly old, and they've got the stainless steel counters and stuff. But the Lutheran Social Service commitment to us is that they will furnish the kitchen. But it is not going to be a commercial kitchen. It is just simply a prep kitchen, as all of the meals for the Meals on Wheels and senior dining are done at Generations in Laverne. And then they bring the food up here, and it goes over to First Lutheran Church, and then they package it all over there, and then it gets distributed to the seniors. Mm-hmm. And so what this will do is it will be a central place for them to be able to bring the food, package it, and then those that wish to have the congregate dining or the Meals on Wheels, they'll have a place that they can sit and be together for that.
Is the meal program strictly just the city of Pipestone?
The
No.
whole county?
County.
It's countywide.
Yeah.
Countywide meal
Yep.
program?
Yep, it's anybody that wants to come and eat if they're of the correct age.
Right.
And then the way that Lutheran Social Service does it is they operate 100% on donations and the rest of the money from the Minnesota River Area on Aging. And so they have a suggested price of $5 to $8.75 per meal. But if people can't afford it, they never get a bill. They simply get a little thing in the mail that says you ate 5 meals this month. Mm-hmm. And if you can donate, fine. And if you can't, well, then that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. And what did they tell us? The average meal that they're getting, was it $2? Does anybody remember?
It's about
$2.
About
That's what they
2.
recapture, yeah.
That's about all they get back from Pipestone County.
They figure their costs are a little over 5, and the average contribution back out of the county is 2.
Sounds like a good deal.
Well, it is for those who are definitely struggling trying
Right,
to
right.
feed
Right.
themselves, you know, and I think there's much more of that in Pipestone County than any of us realize, that there are people that really cannot afford to eat, and Roger can attest to that with the food shelf, so
And it's only gonna get worse.
I think so.
Yeah, with the price of everything going up, they're gonna see more of an increase, I think. And I don't know if any of you have volunteered at the food shelf, but we have, and for the amount of space they have, it's gonna be very advantageous to them to have more room so they can have more things. Right now, they're limited because if they don't use their fresh fruits and vegetables or produce, it's gonna go to waste because they have no way to keep it till the next week. So by having a bigger place to store things and more freezer space and refrigerator space, they'll be able to order more things and be able to store it longer. And getting back to the Meals on Wheels, the last time we talked to Louis Laney, they were delivering between 30 and 40 meals a day in Pipestone.
Less. As far as the food shelf right now, we're running at about an annual rate of 2,600 families a year. That's the largest volume that we've ever had. 2016 was our high point. This is exceeding that by about 5 families a week. And our average household is 3.5 people. So you're looking at about 7,200, which means that 80% of the population of the county on a yearly basis gets 7 days of meals, 3 meals a day for free, for a week.
And we really want to get back to our congregate dining because in the space we have now, we don't have the space, plus we don't have a kitchen. But I just feel as far as the seniors, they need to be able to come somewhere and eat together. You know, we need to kind of get over this loneliness and the isolation that they're feeling. And so by coming to a place where they can all sit, and I don't know about the rest of you, but it's a lot better to sit down to a meal when you've got somebody to talk to than sitting there looking at the television. Or maybe not eat. You know, if you're one person, you don't feel like preparing a meal. So it's nice to be able to come somewhere and be able to be with a group and eat a good nourishing meal. That's another thing we need to stress very much is nourishing meals for our seniors, as well as some of our lower income people here in town that can't afford to go out and buy fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that. So that's another thing that I feel by putting all of us in one building, it's going to be a lot better service for everybody.
And I know that you all know that the land was donated to us.
Right.
And there's been many proposals to us by different individuals that just really, really want us to go into the Baumgart's building. They just feel that that's absolutely where we need to be. And we've done our due diligence on that. The least that they will go on the Baumgart's building is $600,000. It is a 34,500 square foot building. Between the two of us, all that we're gonna need, what is it, Roger, 7,000 something?
What's that?
Square feet.
Square feet,
that
like
we'll
7,200 square feet.
7,200 roughly.
7,200 square feet, okay, so we've got 20-some thousand square feet that we would have nothing, we wouldn't know what to do with it. It needs a new roof, and then we would have to begin to remodel. Well, we can be brand new,
Right.
energy efficient,
Right.
you know, and not ostentatious, you know, we don't need all this room, you know.
The only advantage is you could park inside.
That's true.
You absolutely could.
That's
But
very true.
The bad part of it is there's only really one main entrance to the Baumgart's building.
Yeah.
And so for the food shelf, it's not gonna work because they would somehow have to get up the side of the building to be able to get into doors someplace or other. And like I say, it just is not the space that's for us. But we were out at the fair and we had one farmer that walked up to us and he said, I'll be more than happy to give to you. He said, if you'll go in the Baumgart's building. And I said, well, you buy the Baumgart's building for us and remodel it. And I said, we will go in there tomorrow. But it's just funny how people have different opinions, you know. And so we've, like I say, we have looked we've spent our time looking, to see if there would be a building that would be available. We have talked to the city. We thought maybe at one time that the Carnegie could possibly be fixed again. I think that ship has sailed because they want to sell it, and they're going to probably put $500,000 to $700,000 in that and still have the same space. There's been constant elevator problems in there. With us, we're going to be flat. We're going to be handicap accessible 100% of the way. And
What you're doing is the right thing to do. Start fresh and build it your way.
we probably have raised the money that's been promised to us, and with pledges and everything, we're at about $250,000 right now. So we have done pretty well. And we've got a couple of the banks that we haven't heard from, a couple of the businesses that we're waiting to hear from. So it has been successful, to this point, because we've really been going at it tough since May 26th.
Yeah.
So.
But once it seems like you break ground, things start to come together quicker.
We're not going to break ground. Not until we've got the money or the pledges for it. You worked with me long enough. I'm conservative enough that I absolutely will not do anything until we don't want to get half built, and all of a sudden figure out we're not. We don't have enough money for this. No way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also right now, with lumber prices fluctuating and stuff, it's okay to just let this thing settle down. Yeah.
But there are some people that won't give until they see dirt moving.
You're right.
And
So
that's true.
that's a two-edged sword that,
Yeah, that's the way I look at it too.
and on our church projects and stuff like that too, you can talk to them until you're blue in the face and they won't give anything until, okay, oh yeah, I guess it is going up. Well, we better get some.
But we have nothing to fall back on though, so
No.
that would be a problem for us.
But that might help if you need operating money
Right. Yes,
for
exactly.
those people that don't want to give until they see something happening.
Have you explored somebody that would be a fallback plan? Somebody that would, okay, if you start building the building and like you say you can't get the money, okay, we'll take over the building. A bank or haven't pursued that?
Now, are you talking about for the financing?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. We've got that all arranged. Once we have, because we know a lot of the money is going to be pledges. We know we're not going to get a lot of the cash up front. First Bank and Trust is going to borrow us the money, and they hopefully, it was going to be at a reasonable rate, but we all know what's happened to the rates right now too.
Yeah.
So we're going to have extra money in the budget in order to be able to pay the loan back too, if we have to go that way. But yes, that is all arranged. They are going to take care of it for us.
So you wouldn't be stuck with a half-built building and nothing else.
Right.
Luke, you have anything else?
I don't.
I just was gonna say the same thing that Les did, It always struck me as odd to go down this street and see the senior center sign way up there, after 20 steps.
Yeah.
Right.
It just struck me as odd. And like I say, if you had an elevator, okay, that's part of it, but there are some people that don't wanna use an elevator, that won't like it, don't trust it. We have an elevator in our church too that some people absolutely will not use.
Well, they were paying $5,000 a year maintenance on that elevator over there, just because, and that was yearly. I mean, so we said to them too, close the elevator and give us the $5,000.
We built a new home a couple years ago and ours is 0 entry, and so that's just the way to go.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what we're aiming for this building, because again, right now the food shelf is not handicapped accessible. There's a step to get into it. The bathroom is in the basement. So this is all going to be one level. They'll be able to wheel in and one door and out the other if they need to, so.
And it's certainly not a Taj Mahal. It's going to be a 40 by 80, the senior center will be, and it's going to be basically one big room. And if we need to divide it into sections or whatever, we'll just use these, like the office dividers and stuff like that, if we need to do something like that. Kitchen and 2 bathrooms in the middle, men's and women's, utility room behind the kitchen and stuff, and then Roger's food shelf, and then he'll have a warehouse in the back. The door for the trucks will be to the east by the Baumgars building so that they can come in off a second and do their unloading there or go through the alley. The alley will continue to be open.
Have you done any advertising in the Edgerton paper or in the Edgerton area?
Do you
I know I
think we
brought it
should?
up.
I know you talked about
Brought
that
it up
one.
last time.
Yep. We have really done no advertising, period, yet. We're gonna get to that point that we're probably going to have to, go out and do a little bit of that.
Even calling the editor of the Enterprise and seeing if she would like to do a story on you, that.
That's a good idea.
So, it doesn't cost anything then.
Sure, good idea, okay.
You're trying to wanna make it a Pipestone County thing, not just a Pipestone thing. Excuse me.
Correct. And that's what we're aiming for, is that it is county-wide.
Yeah.
The food shelf is county-wide. We used to have card parties. Diana can, county card parties, when every senior center was available at Woodstock and Ruthven and Holland and Jasper and so on and so forth. They would always take turns. Well, now that some of them have closed, there's no county card parties anymore. So that's something that we want to get back to again too. And we do invite the other members of, the senior centers that have closed they're more than welcome to come to Pipestone. And I know that's hard for a lot of them because like Steve said, a lot of ours are in their 80s and 90s and they don't like to travel, but we do have them come in if they can.
And COVID, of course, ruined everything. It just, the amount of people that were around,
Just a couple of things. One, I think, like Dallas said, you could probably ask the Tyler Tribute also to do a story that would, get to the people in the Ruthven area. And I was also wondering, isn't the Holland Center still going?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, I forgot about that.
Yeah. They are very active.
More of a family there. It just seems
Yeah.
like they do a good job.
Even as a practical manner, people don't like to go to a food shelf in their own home, in their own hometown.
Right.
They'll drive to Pipestone from Edgerton to go to the food shelf.
Yes. Well, and we even had that at our experience in Pipestone here.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of our older people, like you say, didn't want to go to the food shelf. So Roger was very kind. He would order extra produce. He would call us and we would bring it to the senior center.
Yeah.
So then that the seniors could, get the fruits and the vegetables that they need. But then Roger was always very gracious. He had an open house at the food shelf just on a specific day for our seniors. And we had about a dozen of them that went through and they all said, we didn't realize that the food shelf had all these things available, to us. And I think after that, he had about a dozen of our seniors.
12 of them have signed up, but
Yeah.
they're every month. Actually, some are there almost every week.
Yeah. So we have had now seniors that are going, but again, and this would be separate entrance with this new, like you say, some people don't want to come in and people know that I'm going here or there. So there will be a separate entrance for the food shelf and a separate entrance for the senior center.
Does it have a back door?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
They're actually gonna go in and go out a different door, so.
Yes.
Some people will come in your back door too.
And they may.
They won't, 'cause there won't be a doorknob on it.
Don't pop it open.
But as long as you guys are all here, Thursday is our delivery day from Second Harvest. And truck usually shows up about 11 o'clock. I don't think I've ever seen any of you guys at the food shelf to work or observe. I would encourage you to come Thursday morning about 11:30 and watch the truck be unloaded and the stuff brought in. We've got an overhead door that's being used and they bring in items from the front door because it's just the way it is. And this week, you're probably gonna have about 12,000 pounds of food coming in on about 7 or 8 pallets. So if you wanna see what's happening and why we'd like to move to something different, I invite you wholeheartedly to come in Thursday. And if you can't make it this Thursday, we're there every second and fourth Thursday in the morning for food.
One thing Roger didn't mention is the overhead door that they have to use if they can to unload. It is a warehouse for carpeting. And so carpeting has to be moved out before the food can be moved in. And if it's a rainy day or a snowy day, they don't want that carpet moved out. So then it all has to come in their front door, which is just a very narrow, tiny, regular door to get in.
So you're
So,
all invited. And if you feel like working, we'll give you a pair of gloves.
Senior Center, we're up to about 90 members now. When we have more members that would like to join, but it's hard to encourage them when we can only seat 26 in our building. And actually, 24 would be better, but we do squeeze 26 in there. So, Meals on Wheels throughout the winter, Joanne and I were doing the Meals on Wheels. We had to go pick them up at 10:30. We would take them to our home, put them in the oven, take them to the senior center, put them on the table, for people to eat. And they liked it. It was very, very nice, but that's not going to work forever. So,
How many seating rooms will you have in the new one?
how many seats? How many people?
Yeah, I know, I can't remember, because.
Was it 210?
And it depended on how it's configured.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they're gonna be chairs, it was like 300, and I think tables is like 210, something like that.
So it's sizable.
yes.
Well,
yes.
it's 40 by 80 structure is what it is.
If you wanna know what 40 by 80 looks like, go by the laundromat. It's 40 feet wide and 80 feet north-south up to the car wash bay.
Oh.
So it's exactly 40 by 80.
And since we're coming to the community to ask for donations, it's going to be open to the community. We want people to know that, it'll be available for graduation parties, birthday parties, family reunions. Yes, they'll have to rent it, but it'll have a kitchen, which a lot of the places here in town don't. The 109 uptown does not have a kitchen, so you have to cater. The lodge does not have a kitchen, so they have to cater. So at least this way, they'll have a stove, if they need to keep things warm, they'll have an oven, they'll have the refrigerators, the freezers to keep things cold, they'll have a kitchen to serve it out of. So we're hoping, to let the community know it's gonna be available to use. It's not just gonna be the senior center or the food shelf or whatever, that, if we're asking the community for money, we want them to know they can come in and use it.
Would there be a fee to use it? You're thinking be a fee schedule
Yes.
for it?
Yes, we'll have a fee schedule, yes.
Good deal.
The main part of the building for the senior center, it's gonna be configured kinda like the emergency services building, with 2 televisions and a PA system and speakers in the halls, so that there can be lectures or conferences or whatever in there too, and they can do their overheads and stuff from the TVs.
Nice.
Yes, because right now, when we have our defensive driving classes, we have to use the EMS conference room because we first of all, don't have enough room in our current building. Plus, we don't have an overhead or things like that they, need to use.
Right.
So, hopefully we'll be able to have it open for people that want to have meetings, Kiwanis or, whatever, to come in and be able to use it. And we also have people that come in and speak. We had Sheriff Reimbursement come in and speak on how to protect yourselves on these spam calls and things like that. So we like to have, people come in, and again, if we don't have enough room for people to sit, it's kind of hard to ask all these speakers to come in and be there. So we just feel this is going to be a great asset for the whole county, not just for Pipestone, but for the whole county. So that's why we're here asking you to please step up and help us out. Put us in your budget. We need it.
Well, as you know, Steve, it's that time of year when we're putting budgets and levies together, and we got 2 members missing today. But, I don't know, we'll probably have you come back and do another short presentation maybe later when we got everybody here.
We're available. We're glad to do whatever we need to. And we can also bring, if you want like some building plans and stuff like that. Roger is the building, we're kind of the money. So that's kind of how we're dividing it up here. And he's got, the building plans and that stuff and the different costs, of the construction and all of that.
I just think just a basic layout quick so people can see what,
Okay. That's easy to do.
Yeah, we have that, so.
Well, thank you very much.
Yep. Now, a question for you. Do you know, did anything happen at the hospital budget? Were we included? Are we not included? Do you have?
We
any-
haven't done it yet.
We haven't done it yet. Okay.
No, we gotta still do that.
Okay. Very good.
Well, again, we encourage you to please bring it up at the hospital. Again,
It's
you
on
know,
the agenda, isn't it?
It is.
they, wanna address health. And to us, this is a big, big thing because not only mental health, but it all, does filter down to your physical health also. So if you can please
Food
encourage them.
security is obviously very high on the list of healthy
Right.
Yes,
options.
definitely.
And
Yeah.
we do have a gal from the hospital that comes already, Lynn Beers, with Senior Solutions. She does come once a month to the center already. So again, part of the mental health and, well-being of everybody, so.
Well, thank you.
Okay,
Well, thank you very much.
Can
Thank
I
you.
just add one thing? I think one thing, that's really, really important is, and we're all learning. I mean, I'm amazed at all the things the senior center and people have accomplished. We're all volunteers and giving our time. And Meals on Wheels during the pandemic, I've volunteered every day. We never missed a day. So I give kudos to everybody in this room, how hard we've worked, the time we've spent. And none of us are here to gain anything financially. We are doing this for the senior citizens and the seniors of Pipestone. And I just think it's tremendously important for everybody. And we had the booth out at the fair. And we felt great because we were educating. People were stopping by, asking questions. We had a lot of interest, and sometimes, people just look at those booths and walk by. We had a lot of good interest, and we had quite a few good donations. It was amazing. So that made us really feel good that some of our educating the public is really helping out.
We made a little bit over 4,000 during the fair,
Yeah.
which was really good. I mean, for just sitting in a fair booth, I thought that was really good.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Well, and something just to remind you before we go, there are always going to be senior citizens. We are senior citizens. We're not always going to be here, but there will be more coming, and this building is going to be here all the time for not just the present ones, but for the future also.
I think if we consider seniors 55 and plus, I think it's all of us.
I seen that many moons ago.
Because as we all know, if we've all lived here in Pipestone, things have come and gone. And we just know with the seniors, this is something that's going to always be here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Dallas, is it still Jill Fenema?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we will get a hold of her then. Thank you so much for that idea.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and do try Tyler too.
And who is it?
I don't know who is the contact, but I mean, I just know that they used to have a Buffalo Ridge Gazette, but that went away and it kind of was combined with the Tyler Tribute. And, whoever,
Oh, I'll find her.
whoever the editor.
You have to know what page you're on.
70.
I was really close, just had flip a page.
70 it is.
I was gonna say, I hope there's no changes, but I know there are.
There's a few significant changes. And we'll see what comes of them, but
Must not have
Otherwise,
gotten
I-
to the significant ones yet.
every other year I don't have a whole lot for significant changes, so.
Floor is yours.
Emergency management first, or
Yep.
which one you doing?
We can do emergency
Okay, that's
management
fine.
first, that's first on here, so, emergency management, there wasn't a whole lot of changes or anything, for that, other than a big one where you notice that I would like to replace the 2004 Suburban. That's basically the only significant, and I'm sure you probably noticed in, I think, 6343, the rentals and service agreements, the 2021 Actuals, 22,661, and I think that's primarily because a couple of the bigger ones, like the Code Red, like they were both billed within the same year. And that's, I think that one's $6,600, I think, right now, or a little bit more than that, $6,700. But there was a couple of the significant ones that ended up in the same.
Is that just a one-time
Billing
fee
year.
then, or?
It's an annual fee,
Oh, it is.
and preferably we like them to be paid in the calendar year that they're being used, but sometimes if we're too speedy on our bills, they get paid a little early.
So what is the anticipated annual amount for the various will 10 cover it, or?
No, 10 should cover it.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, 10 typically is,
And then on the vehicle purchase, are you gonna get something a little more economical than a Suburban, or?
actually, I was hoping to get a 3/4 ton Ram pickup. The reason being is for the FEMA trailer and the hazmat trailer,
Oh, sure.
for when we haul those around.
Probably get a little better mileage too, wouldn't it?
Then the Suburban, probably, because, I mean, it has like the, adjustable cylinders and whatnot. I don't know what the proper verbiage for that is, but yeah, the plan was to get a gas 3/4 ton Ram. The Suburban has lasted us phenomenally a very long time, and I don't know how much we'll get for trade-in for it. It won't be a whole lot. I mean, it's still got very low miles, but
And that Suburban was bought under a grant, so it didn't cost the county anything other than the equipment that was put in it. So it was all in one of those grants going back to,
grant was it?
it was, it's federal pass-through about the time of 9/11.
Oh, yeah,
They
I
were
suppose.
throwing money at everything, so that's
everything.
how we got the two trailers, the Suburban, all the hazmat stuff in it, all that was coming, feds were blowing money at us like crazy, so. And we ended up getting that on state bid, the 3/4 ton, so.
If you can't get much of a trade-in, is there any other use for it countywide?
I'm not sure. And I mean, I'd have to talk to, I've contacted Papik and I've contacted Dodge of Burnsville and whatnot, because they both are familiar with state contract for vehicles and for Dodge and Ram vehicles. And I'm sure Papik would be happy to give a ballpark on.
Now you're looking at a gas vehicle or diesel?
I'm considering either, but
I know some farmers, they've went and stepped up to the 3/4. Comes in a little cheaper because you can throw out all the emission stuff.
This one's gas.
Stepped up to 1 ton, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's what he's talking about.
gotcha.
They're cheaper to license too.
Yep.
Oddly enough, but I don't know about for this application. But
They're like $30 every 2 years for the licenses.
Yeah.
ain't that odd?
Cause it's tax exempt,
Government agents.
Yeah.
yeah, right. So that's pretty cheap.
But I was just thinking on the purchase,
Sure.
sometimes a 1 ton is cheaper than a 3/4.
I'll have to look back because I do have a list that I printed off.
For sure.
And then I did talk to Edison at the sheriff's office too, and he would help upfit it, and I know they have some spare, like, light bar if we wanted to put a light bar on it, and a few other things and whatnot, and of course we have our local folks around for graphics.
Mm-hmm. Good.
What year was the old Suburban?
2004. It's got, 127,000 miles on it, I think? That thing will run forever yet. But it's also,
127?
yeah. But it's a gas hog, and
Yeah. Pass anything on the road but a filling station.
And you do have the 3rd row seat.
yes, we do. Upstairs, we can put that back in there.
Some construction crew would love that.
Probably.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of, even,
They don't care about
some
mileage.
families that want to go camping and prefer something 3/4 ton.
Well, like construction crews, instead of taking 2 vehicles, they can get by with 1.
Yeah.
Right.
What kind of mileage does it get?
10, 12.
12 on a good day, maybe.
Yeah,
Good day.
Uphill or downhill, Luke?
yeah, and is the wind blowing or not?
Wind is blowing, yeah.
Are you pulling anything?
Then 6?
Yeah, 6 would probably be good.
So I was looking,
Watch it go down.
I was looking back at your 6343 from 21, and we paid
I have it.
on the 6343 expenditures, e-dispatches was paid out of there,
Yep.
and then Johnson Controls agreement 1935 came out of there, plus with all the stuff that you guys split.
Right.
And then, actually you paid, another 2508 to Penguin Management in October, so that was like $5,000
Yep.
there. And then you had your annual code red in December at 6603. Everything else was things that you split up: copiers, rugs, cable, washing
Thought I had
windows,
a copy of that.
water system, postage meter, all that kind of stuff comes out of there too, so those are your big items in 21, just in case anybody wanted to know, so.
So are all those items ongoing?
Well, with the Johnson Controls one was too. I know I have it printed off. I didn't bring it with me though.
I mean, if they are, you're gonna have more than 10.
Right.
I only see the Johnson Controls once, so I don't know if that was a one-time deal or not
I
when they
don't
put
know
in
if-
that system in there.
I feel like that was
I don't
an
know that-
upgrade.
Yeah, I don't think you have continual monitoring on that. I think that's coming through here with the contract. I don't see it anywhere else, so.
Because when did we?
That was done, September of 21,
Okay.
but everything other than those are routine. Then you've got your, monitoring for 3D security.
Right.
For the Heartland Security, I think that's a fire system. So,
How's that billing service working out?
Good.
Good.
We just went through a revenue recapture audit through the Department of Revenue Recapture Program, and it takes back like tax refunds or lottery winnings and such. But it was really good. We didn't have anything significant, but we worked through it with Transmedic because they, of course, have the information for us. And I mean, we all learned quite a bit and a little bit better, smoother process to use for it too. That will, I think, work better for them and work better for us.
Good.
So, but no, otherwise, I mean, we had a good, Danielle and I had a conference call with 2 of the gals from Transmedic Billing 2 weeks ago maybe, and I mean, we talked about that, and then we talked about a few other things as well, so. I mean,
Please.
sorry.
Thank you.
Obviously they've increased our revenue. Our call volume, of course, has increased also, but
But they've increased the percentage of your revenue?
yes,
Nice. Significant or?
I would say it's fairly significant. I mean, I know our call volume has gone up as well, but I'd have to run numbers to find what the exact correlation between like revenue increase and call volume increase would be.
Right, to see what the percentage is that you're not
Yes.
getting or whatever.
Right.
I have a question about how much you get paid when you bill somebody. Do you get paid 100%, or is it some insurance companies drop a portion of that, or?
The reimbursement rates, I mean, are primarily set by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS. And it really varies. They're kind of the ones that set the standard. Insurance companies usually pay more than the percentage. I should bring a EOB statement that shows, I mean, what they do reimburse. And they typically pay a portion of the base rate transport, which might be advanced life support or basic life support, the actual, picking up and we're going to transport this patient. And then most pay pretty decent on the mileage, and right now we're paying or bill $18 per loaded mile. So like a transfer to Sioux Falls is either usually 48 to 52 miles, depending on which hospital we're transporting to. And they do reimburse a good portion of that. So I would say on a 911 call, we're getting paid, it's kind of tough to say. With Prime West, Medicare, or Medicaid, or Medicare, probably 60% in total with the supplement insurance, and then for a transfer to Sioux Falls, it's usually quite a bit higher, like 75 to 80%.
Same thing that happens at the hospital. You bill so many dollars and they only
And
pay
they write
62%
they
of it
write a
off.
good portion off anyway. And I mean,
I
it's
was wondering if they did that to you too. and they do.
and we aren't, even when we do different procedures and administer different medications, we can't bill for those. It's still just the base rate and the loaded mileage. The base rate can vary depending on what we do, like the ALS, ALS1, ALS2, BLS, and that just depends on what we are all doing during the duration of the call. But I mean, the hospital, they have the ability to bill you for a single saline flush for an IV or an IV start. But I think historically they've always been kind of lousy about reimbursement rates for ambulance.
I would speculate that it's gonna be very similar to the loss rates we heard about this morning at mental health, of what they're writing off for in the areas of 20% and up.
Oh yeah, yep,
Insurance is
absolutely.
If not greater. I think probably your Medicare write-off is higher than 20%, I would guess.
Probably.
Like 40 or?
I
I'm
don't,
surprised.
Hospital says 62 cents out of the dollar.
That's
That's
probably
yeah,
lower.
that's probably pretty accurate.
You can charge wherever you want, but they aren't gonna give you that much.
They got a set rate and that's it.
And then people, complain. I mean, everybody complains about the cost of healthcare, but it's like when you only get reimbursed a certain percentage across the board, there's really no other choice. So, but
You gotta get it from somewhere.
you do.
Question on 6564 on the last page of PM. This machinery, vehicle parts was 0, now it's $4,000. Are you anticipating?
That was anticipation of just upfitting anything for a new vehicle purchase, unless there's a different, more appropriate area to put that in.
I would put it under 6481 if it's gonna be less than $10,000
Okay.
per invoice. I would move it there.
Sounds good.
Cause
Yeah.
parts and stuff generally just, you're gonna have that under maintenance.
Right.
Your vehicle maintenance budget for that. Yeah, 6303 is where most of that'll come out of, so it's okay if we change that?
Yep.
6481 to 5,000,
Changing that right now.
okay?
And
And
then
then we'll zero out to
increase,
4,000.
and then increase your rentals and service agreements to
15, I think.
15.
I think that'd be more in line with what you're spending, it looks like. You don't mind if we increase your budget, do you?
No, that's fine. I thought I brought my other sheet with, but I had so many sheets laying around.
No more money, no more
I
money.
missed that one.
She's never gonna come back now.
Please stop giving me more money to use.
make a note
Well,
here.
the cost of everything just doesn't seem to be coming back down.
You seeing increases in everything you're buying now?
Yeah, we still do. And we're still on allocation for gloves. I mean, 2 years later, we cannot get large gloves. So, I mean, so we tell our people, well, if you can size up or size down, please do.
You want mechanics gloves? I can get mechanics gloves.
A lady that keeps bothering me by email for PPE equipment. Maybe I'll send you the email. You can talk to her about it, see if she's got
No.
large gloves.
I used to get all sorts of emails for that, but not so much anymore.
Maybe they're coming to me. I'll start forwarding them to you. You can call her up.
And see if it's actually, well, because we do. I mean, we've expanded how many, or which vendors and how many different vendors we use just because it was so hard to get some certain things.
Supposed to be a certain kind too, I mean.
Yep. And we did, Cole just got in some Narcan today. He went with a different company because it was getting so expensive through where we were going through, and it's like $300 cheaper. So, and I mean, it was virtual. We opened it up and then the same thing.
Wow.
So,
It does pay to shop around.
yeah,
a
we
little,
do try to shop around as much as we can. So, fortunately, Dr. Savio is usually pretty good about signing for a new medical vendor.
huh? Good.
How are your ambulance rates? I mean, are they adequate still, or?
I think so. We'll probably touch base with Transmedic at the end of the year again. And I mean, like last year, they recommended that we alter a few of them, and none of them were crazy changes. But I think, I mean, we're still pretty fair across the board, and there are some other comparable ambulance services that kind of post their rates too, and they're
You're in the
pretty.
ballpark with others.
Yep, we're in the ballpark. I mean, I certainly don't want to be overcharging people for anything. So.
Do you ever run into any people that refuse to be transported because of they're worried about the price?
We do. And for people who are refusing transport, we don't bill, but for people that we do treat and they, choose to not be transported, whether we're helping somebody up off the ground and, helping them evaluate them, make sure they're okay to not go to the hospital. That's called a
You charge for that, right?
That's called a treat and no transport, and it is.
No transport.
Yep, and that is a $200 charge, but and not that we want to do that, but at the same time, when you get paged over
Can't do it for
and
nothing.
it does. It costs money to leave the garage. I mean, it costs money to operate.
Yeah.
Nothing is free, and I mean, people can't always expect services for free either. So. And some of us were kind of abusing us, or some people have kind of abused us almost like home health before and whatnot. So we're certainly about how, all about helping the community and whatnot, but at the same time, we're not the solution that some of these people need.
Especially for ones that are, I want an ambulance ride to the hospital emergency room to ask for some pain pills that I probably shouldn't get anyway.
Right.
That's only because they
And-
don't have their own wheels.
There's 3 a.m. for something that's been going on for several days or something. We see everything, but it's not our job to judge. So, I mean, we treat everybody with dignity and respect, but we also try to educate our patients as well. I mean, that's just part of nursing, part of EMS is to try to encourage them to make choices that will help themselves.
But I think that's one of the better things about having our own people do an ER now.
I agree.
If you're seeing the same people over and over, you can't be tricked because you're the new person filling in,
Right.
with somebody that's a repeat customer, so to say.
And they've been very good about Dr. Chapa, especially. He'll be popping by our meeting tonight again too, before we get going, just to chat with everybody. But they've been very good to work with, and I mean, are very pro EMS and want to maintain good communication and work together and train together. So no, that was very exciting for us.
Yeah. For everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So ambulance.
Should we hit ambulance? 283, page 75.
All right. Here's where it gets exciting. 5501, fees for service. I did a slight increase from 2022 as our revenue and our call volume have continued to rise. The first 6 months for 2022, we receipted in $266,008. And that's with this spring, we had March and April were below our normal for call volume. So, I mean, but our revenue is still increased even with that lull in calls.
How many calls is that?
I was gonna print that off and I didn't. I wanna say March, we were in the upper forties, the mid to upper forties, and typically we usually break at least 80 calls a month. In July, we had 103. So far this month, we've generated, I think, 36 EPCRs.
So over 1,000 a year, easy.
We are on average to break 1,000 again. I think it was like 2.75 or 2.76 average
Almost
calls
3
a
a day, year round.
Yep, and that includes transfers and such too, and I mean, those make up about a quarter.
But when you think that's more than our population. I mean, well, not more than the population, but, you know, it's a good percentage of your,
It is.
10%.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's a good 10%.
And you figure the younger ones are supposed to be the healthiest.
Right?
I know, we see everyone of every age though, I mean, just all sorts of things. We've had a lot of calls this year that have been doozies and a lot of, you know, medical ones as well, but, so I did increase that a bit. Let's see. And I guess we'll just kind of see where it's at next year. Charges for services, 5502. I did increase that. We offer our CPR courses, but we're also adding advanced cardiac life support, or ACLS, which is another American Heart Association course that all the paramedics are required to have. But RNs and providers at hospitals are also required to have that. And every once in a while, we'll have some in the past who's asked us about it. Both Cole and Danielle are instructors for that as well. So we will, I haven't added it yet, but towards the end of the year, we'll probably add that for the 2023 fee scale. And then of course the EMT and EMR initial and refresher courses. And I mean, that's just, I mean, I changed it some, I didn't change it a whole lot just because we'll have to see what it brings. I anticipate it'll probably bring in more than $7,500, but we shall see.
You brought in a really big check last year of $17,812.06
That was-
in that, so that's,
Well, that was for reimbursement. No. That's for, you're looking at.
5502 for 21. For year 21, there was a 17,812.06 that, back in September.
81206.
I don't know if that skewed your dollar amounts or not, or something, some anomaly that came through one time, I don't know.
17806.
17,812.06. Come through from the state or something for that DHS project you were working on, something like that, I don't know.
But that shouldn't have went under charges for services. We received that in.
Yeah, it's showing as a receipt 204778 through 204792.
I'll have to look.
5502. Yeah. So that's not under the fee one. Unless it was miscoded,
I'm wondering if it wasn't.
because there's a lot of receipts here that are going under that.
Well, anything for CPR.
Yeah, I see some of those, they say CPR, others are just, just as receipt numbers
Right.
on it, but 201,420, 204,778 through 204,792.
778 through what? 792?
Right.
Okay.
So that looks like an outlier to me, what
Right.
else is going on there, it looks like that's a pretty big number, I doubt that's a training.
No.
So that might have, why it's skewed, why it looks like it's, they took in so much more money that,
Right.
but year 7,500 is probably in line with what you're gonna be doing for education next year, looks like you took that into account.
Correct.
Perfect.
5897, the refunds and reimbursements, that 20,486 from this year. Part of that, I think, is the striker power load, or excuse me, not the power load, the Lucases that we reimbursed for from the chili feed. Because we purchase through the county, and then the county paid, and then the association reimburses Pipestone County. Which is what we did with the power load last year too, so.
Are we adding an employee?
We are hoping to. So this is next, 6101 and 6102. The personnel committee, we've gotten together twice and discussed this. And kind of the background on it is we currently have 2 full-time EMTs and 2 full-time paramedics. They cover 3 day shifts every week. Each crew does. So that covers, I mean, basically 6 days a week. And every 3rd weekend is an open or a volunteer or association weekend. And we have just been scrimping and scraping and begging and sending out dozens of texts leading into a weekend to say, please pick up even 2 hours or 3 hours or anything, even an hour here and there helps. And I mean, that's just to get the primary truck covered, which we're required to by state statute.
People don't want to work on the weekend.
It's not just the weekend. I mean, during the day is really tough too. I mean, especially like, you know, if any of us are gone for meetings or trainings out of town, I mean, there's no one around for backup. It's tough. I mean, like Danielle and I, we're pretty much on backup 5 days a week. All the full-timers take additional shifts, and I mean, some are just getting burnt out. I mean, some take more shifts than others and whatnot, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, anytime something's open, I mean, it still falls back. I mean, we're, I guess, kind of the only ones that still feel the duty to serve and make sure it gets filled. In addition to that, I guess, we have a transfer phone that rotates through all the full-time staff, and it works very well, but it's still very difficult. So each full-time person who carries this transfer phone communicates directly with PCMC to arrange for transfers. By Minnesota state statute, we're required to provide uninterrupted 911 service with people on the schedule 24/7. And most transfers are not considered emergent. So if you take a transfer without having a set crew in place, you are violating state statute, and you can get in big trouble for that. Not to mention you're leaving your community at the whim of an all-call that people may or may not show up to. So
Have you ever had that happen?
we have had it happen to where, I mean, we weren't really even aware of the interpretation of the statute and taking transfers. We relied on all-calls up until probably a year and a half ago, where we started implementing the backup crew for when there's a transfer. And prior to that, there were times where, I mean, especially like a weekend or a holiday or something, where they would page 2-3 times and nobody is still responding, and then, you know, Jasper or Edgerton will tootle up, and you're talking 35-40 minutes later after the initial call. And that's just not acceptable.
No. Not if it's something serious,
No, even if it's not.
right?
I mean, even if it's, you know, some elderly person laying on the floor or something, they don't deserve to lay there for that long
Right.
when they're calling for an emergency. So I guess the proposal here would be, they've worked on some different schedules, and if they were able to add 2 more full-time, whether EMT, paramedics, any combination thereof, they would be able to staff the first truck 24/7, 365 with full-time staff. And then that would leave our association members to cover backup. And I think this would be really beneficial, because with our call volume, I mean, we have all of our volunteers have full-time jobs. And Steve can attest to how busy Tuesday nights are, and there's been times where they're running 2 transfers and a couple 911s, and I mean, like, he's on with Jason Christensen, who works at State Farm, who got an hour and a half of sleep. I mean, we can't expect anybody to sacrifice their full-time job for this, and that's gonna burn people out. If they are on backup all the time, I think that will help a lot. We do have some people who live in the county but do not live in town, and being on backup basically allows for like a 20, maybe even a 30-minute response time. I think Laverne allows a 30-minute response time, to whereas we liken it to this. If you are on 911 backup, you can go out to Ward and get your steak or prime rib, and you can enjoy it while being on 911 backup. But if a transfer is paged out, then you need to pack it up to go and start heading back to town to cover 911s. That was kind of our easiest way to explain it to everybody. They don't have to necessarily live in town to be on call, but if there is a transfer that comes up, they'll have to buzz to town to be within the 10-minute response time to cover 911s. And I think the association would be very receptive to that. I think part of the time it's hard to cover shifts during the day, during night, weekend, anytime, because they have a very good chance of getting paged out, a very good chance of going on a transfer. And I mean, that can be really disruptive.
So do you have people in mind that would be willing to do that if it were a full-time?
I know
opportunity?
there's some people who have mentioned that they have some interest in it from in-house, but I mean, this is something I would want advertised all over. I mean, if we were able to bring in other people, but I'm also on 6102 talking about adding 4 part-time EMTs and or paramedics. I would like to get that going, I guess, and it wouldn't be shifts very often, but it would be paid shifts for if there is, vacation or sick or, things that come up because, I mean, when you run so lean, the sheriff's office is finding out too right now, if you have one person go out for any period of time, you're kind of in a world of hurt. And I don't even know that we would end up needing 4. I mean, 2 might end up being sufficient. That the part-timers was initially kind of the thought to fill in around our current staff, but I think the more we've all talked about it and the more we all think about it, I feel that adding the 2 full-time staff would be the better way to go for the community, for our people, for the association, and we would still keep the volunteer base for the 911 backup. I mean, we would be able to provide 24/7, 365. They're at the garage, able to go and respond to emergencies. And with transfers being arranged through a full-time provider, then usually anybody on 911 backup too would get a heads up that there's going to be a transfer. Very rarely is it like lickety-split anymore. Usually you have a little bit of a notice.
Do you normally just have 2 full-time on at a time?
Yes, and they work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
12 hours, yeah.
Yep. And there is, every 3rd weekend, there's no full-timers on, and every 3rd Monday, there's no full-timers on. But it usually ends up being full-timers covering. And that kind of rolls into 6104. I left the overtime at 12,000, but I foresee if we had 24/7 coverage with full-time staff, that would probably be significantly reduced. There would really be no need for much overtime.
So the 2 new full-timers would be able to cover that 4th weekend then, right?
Yes.
So you'd have coverage every,
Yes.
yep, got it.
Of your
Makes sense.
volunteers are there ones that already have this training?
Yes. Of the volunteers. So right now we have 29 people on. Of those 29, and I can I have enough, I can send this out. Of the 29, there are 2 that are EMRs that are also deputies. There's 13 EMTs, there's 1 advanced EMT, and there's 8 paramedics. There are 18 people who live locally in Pipestone, and of those 18, 6 are full-timers already, and there are 9 that take regular scheduled shifts.
Now, at our last meeting that we had, Casey, you have some out on maternity leave right now too, right?
We do, but neither of those live in town. We have 2 on maternity leave of absence, and we have 1 on a medical leave of absence, but none of those 3 live in town. 1 did, but they are actually just recently moving, over this month, I believe, out to by Woodstock where they built a house, but she indicated, and they both have indicated that they want to stay on and help when they can, but again, if they were on 911 backup, then they could essentially cover that from home.
Mm-hmm.
What's an AEMT compared to an EMT?
An AEMT, in South Dakota, it means a lot more than it does in Minnesota, because in South Dakota, EMTs can't do a whole lot, and in Minnesota, there's variances. And with proper training, EMTs in Minnesota can do quite a bit, administer quite a few medications, even like injectable medications. They can start IVs. They can do certain types of airways. An AEMT can do a little bit more than that. And she came from South Dakota, which is why she has it. So.
I see. Is that a designation in Minnesota, or?
Yep, it is. Yep, she's certified as an AEMT in Minnesota. And there's different requirements for recertifying too. EMTs have to have 40 hours of continuing education every 2 years. AEMTs have to have 50 hours, and paramedics have to have 60 hours.
Okay.
Which, in comparison, like an RN needs 24 hours.
Really?
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Huh. Must affect the work-life balance. Huh?
Yeah. I never understood that, but
No, makes
yep.
no sense.
Okay. So when were you thinking of doing this?
Ideally, I mean, best case scenario, I would like to get it going as soon as we could, even by the end of this year, just because we can advertise, but that doesn't mean that we're gonna get anyone.
Right?
Yep. Better have to get going sooner than later.
I suppose that'll have to come before the board
Oh, yeah, sure.
at some time coming up.
I think since you've got a different plan, I think we should get the personnel committee together again
And
and
do
go over this
one
one more
more.
time.
I agree.
Come up with the strategy and then come back to the board with the recommendation.
Chris wasn't at our last meeting.
No.
So.
No, he wasn't, and get him up to speed as well.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's kind of a critical thing.
It is.
Well, and I mean, like we've spoke before, I mean, EMS has always kind of been, I don't know, forgotten about, because it was always just relied on heavily with volunteers, but then that's really fallen by the wayside, and public service isn't, people are busy.
The world is changing.
The world is changing, people are changing, but EMS is still a necessity.
How are your vehicles holding up?
Good. Good. I still have, I don't know if that's anything you're interested in, but I do have like a little timeline. I think I've showed you before. The like vehicle replacement and repair timeline, just to.
Now, did we get rid of the last one of the kind of dud ones that,
Yes.
didn't you have some that were kind of defective almost, or weren't
Yeah.
the best?
Kind of a dilemma.
But they're all doing very well right now, so. But you just never know what you're gonna get. Just
Right.
doesn't seem like things are always high quality anymore, but that's been.
Are they hard to get like other vehicles now?
Yes.
Yep.
They are. Apparently ordering is quite a bit out right now, is what we're told. So, I mean, they have started, Mark, that's kind of his baby. Mark loves working on, prospective new vehicles and whatnot. But I know he spoke with our rep from Lifeline and 94 Services and whatnot, and we have got a couple quotes for the remount on 383, and like by taking out some of the additions and whatnot, we've gotten the cost down to I think around 165,000, which it is what it is, and that's taken out basically everything that's not.
So how soon would you have to order that to get it by 2025?
I'll have to see what it is now, if it's out for 18 months or 24 months or what it is. But I'll have to check with them again and see if anything has changed, because
Yeah,
I
always
want.
something you wanna stay on top.
It is. Well, I want to say it was about 2 years when we checked a couple months ago, so that's why we.
Because I mean, if it's 2 years, you'd almost have to order January
pretty
for it
soon.
to be available by 2025.
Yep.
Which seems shocking that you'd have to do it that far in advance,
But that's the
That's
way
sign
of.
the times,
yes.
Isn't it ridiculous?
if you can get it.
I mean, like what would happen if you had an accident or something and
Right.
all of a sudden you had to have one?
Yep.
It'd probably be hard pressed to find one, I suppose.
Probably. I mean, you'd almost probably have to buy like a
Used one somewhere,
Yeah.
just,
to get by.
Well, you could probably get one.
Suburban. That'd be hard to get licensed by the state. We did have, with our inspection though, that we had with Holly, it went very well. And we finally got our stickers for the new ambulance, and which really isn't new anymore, but
What are we looking at?
6343. Looks like you're,
Rentals and service?
yeah.
I don't know that it'll climb. I mean, it'll climb obviously more by the end of the year, but we pay the majority of the service agreements at the beginning of the year.
Unless they start raising your rates, because that's still a third of what, because you're still splitting EMS, VSO.
Yep.
3 ways for most of the service agreements, right?
Yep.
There's some you don't, obviously.
If it's not pertinent to
Right.
EM or VSO, we just pay it out of the ambulance budget.
Yeah, so
When
there's
was the last
there's
time-
some strictly EMS things in here, like Stryker,
Right.
Alpha Wireless,
Probably that
Transmedic
line.
billing is in there.
And like
Beyond
maintenance
lucid.
agreements and whatnot on equipment are ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. At least you don't have to pay licensing on those, do you? Like on IT stuff? Thank goodness.
No, other than our
There's nothing
our
covered.
EPCR system, our electronic patient care reporting, and we do plan on changing that over. And I just paid our current one to be on Lucid Technologies for MediView. We've talked to Mary about it and Kim hasn't said much, but Mary is like, change. And we're like, this one is so much easier. So she was happy to hear that. But we're working with getting this new one built up, and then we're building Jasper and Edgerton's as well, and then we'll go down and train with them a couple of times before we actually implement it. But it is a lot easier, and it doesn't save a whole lot, but it does save a little bit. But it's the one that the hospitals can look up and see everything. Like all the statewide hospitals are on what's called Hospital Hub. And Image Trend is hosted by the state, and I mean, like the state of South Dakota, a lot of the flight companies use it, and it's the very, very basic version is free, but you can't add or change anything to make it pertinent to you. So we kind of need that feature. So
The very basic one would work for Edgerton and Jasper, wouldn't
That's what we're doing. Yes. Yep. They don't need
it? Yes, method.
the bells and whistles would just be confusing
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. And I mean, all the additional things that we have. But, no, I just paid to be on Lucid Technologies one for MediView for our current EPCR, but I have in writing from Jonathan there that they will reimburse what is not used when we switch over.
6481, you must have got something big this year that is out of the norm, or?
6481, and I don't know of a better way to code this, but that would be the Lucas devices that were then reimbursed, and it was.
Oh, no, that's fine, because you got reimbursement back for them, right?
Yes, we
Yeah,
got
so you had to
reimbursement
pay it
back.
somewhere.
Basically, in and out, it doesn't
It's a
show.
wash.
Yep.
So that was this,
The 5897, the 20,486. It was 17,000, I think $737.
that was the number you were looking for earlier.
No, because that was from the previous year.
Oh,
Yeah, that was from the previous year. I was looking
And-
at 21s here,
under 5897.
so I will look at 22s here.
Yep, the 6481 and the 5897 for 2022 are a wash.
Okay.
Uniflash here.
That's good.
Because I believe it was 17,737 is what we
Yeah, you still gotta
reimbursed.
code the expense someplace, even when you get the money in.
Yeah,
But it's good to know that it's one that got covered. And obviously that maintenance on the house was that tiling deal.
yep, and I have the city bills that I just got this week that I need to pay too. But now that that's all done, it should be done
Right.
forever, so.
Are we still gonna cement that area, Steve?
Which area?
Between the drive and,
We've talked to Wayne about it.
I think your guys work, whatever you guys were thinking of doing, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you and Danielle and Taylor, I think you guys are talking about doing that and getting that cleaned up in there.
Between the neighbor's driveway, I mean.
Ours.
No,
EMS
ours,
house.
because we took out the fence, so you can just buzz across now.
Oh, I see.
But there's quite a bit of a slope between each
it
level of
varies, it starts from
cement.
nothing to,
Yep,
quite a
and then
bit.
there's all that rock there, so we did talk about, I don't really wanna slope it, so I think we'll probably put in steps. It's
you
lit
got the
right,
option right there at that last post, put just a grab bar there to hang on
yes.
for like a
I don't wanna
bathroom.
slip and fall
No,
there.
that's exactly it, we don't want anybody to wipe out and hurt themselves, so. But I don't think just slope and cement would be a good option, that would be.
Not in the shaded area like
And it's
that.
like a slide.
Because it gets very icy back there.
Right.
Safe Assure would have a cow if they saw
Yes, they would.
that.
Just
Did you
grab
ever
a
get
line
these?
underneath, run out there and have heated cement.
Right?
There we go.
Did you ever get the inspection report back from Safe Assure?
From you guys?
Yeah.
No, did
Well,
you
I
give it to
mean-
Wayne or what?
No, I mean from when he came through. Didn't he walk through the buildings after he did
Yeah,
the
in
training?
May he did.
But just our last training. Didn't he walk through that day?
When we had everybody here for training?
Yeah.
No, that
he
wasn't, that
didn't.
wasn't a survey, that
Okay.
was just Tom doing our annual trainings. This would have been May when Chad was here.
Oh yes. I don't know if we got that. I don't recall. I'll have to look through my email. I don't recall getting it though.
I'll look it up.
6961, your ambulance appropriations. You suppose we should bump that just a tad?
For all the responder and that one and the ambulance one and the rescue one. So the ambulance one goes to all the ambulance services and the first responder services, and then I think it's the rescue one that goes to the fire departments, correct?
Correct.
How much do you give out to each one?
I would have to look it up because they're all very different.